Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am the Pongal Handyman, and if like me you've got a new home and you're starting renovation soon, do check out these 4 steps you need to take to ensure you choose the right ID, get the right quote, and most importantly avoid all those hidden costs associated with renovation. Like, share and subscribe, get straight into it. Okay, so when it comes to renovation, I believe there are no such thing as hidden costs. Basically, they are uncommunicated costs. Costs which are not communicated clearly between the client and the contractor. So to avoid all that, you need to provide your interior designer or contractor with as much information as you can. With this information, you can present your ideas clearly, you can compare quotes, you can clean up the quote, and then trim it to fit your budget. A typical initial ID meetup goes something like this. You have to sit down with them for 2 hours with your floor plan, and then some of them would like to visit your house to have a look at what you want renovated. And that's all before you can get a quote. And if you're going to be approaching 10 different designers, you are going to do this 10 times, which is a lot of time wasted. So what I'd like to do is to use a program like Microsoft PowerPoint to create a deck of slides, which I like to call the ID briefing, so that I can put all my ideas, photographs and floor plans into this central source that I can then send to the different IDs. The thing I like to do is to take a 360-degree panoramic photo of the space. Right here I'm using the Insta360 Flow, which comes with a 360 mode to take a 360 photograph, but you can also get away with using the panoramic function of your mobile phone. And then you move on to space planning. I've got a video on my channel which talks about it, and I'll put a link in the description down below. With these photos and with your space plan, you can put it all together into a deck, and you send this to all your potential interior designers. This way, you'll save 2 hours per ID, and your initial appointment would have been considered done the first time you meet one of them. They would have a quote ready for you to go through, and that would save you heaps of time. Now within a few days, most of your potential IDs would have come back to you with quotes. And now don't be like everyone else and flip to the last page to check out the final number. That number is very inaccurate. What you want to do is to compare all these quotes item by item, side by side. For this, I use a program like Microsoft Excel. This is by far the most important part of the process. You want to use the software and break down your quote into individual items. Up here is a sample quote, and I'm breaking it down into individual items as well as the cost associated with it. Once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Go ahead and create a second column for the next ID. Likewise, you're going to break down the quote, and if you find anything missing, for instance, plywood backing in this instance, just add it to the next line and move on. Similarly, if you find something that was quoted initially but not included in your second quote, highlight the field, leave it blank so that you can address it later. Now when you're done, you should have 2 columns that look like this, and you might begin to see something happening. The first quote by John is almost $12,000, where the second quote by Celine is $7,700. You might be tempted to pick Celine's because it's cheaper, but it is missing many items that were not included in her quote. And although John's quote is more expensive, his is also missing an item which was included in Celine's quote. These are your hidden costs. Taking a closer look, you'll realize that John only quoted me for 16 and 17 feet of carpentry, whereas Celine, on the other hand, quoted me for 21 feet of carpentry. Looking at my drawings, I'm only planning for 8 and 16 feet of carpentry, and Celine here is overcharging me up to 21 feet. That is definitely something I'm going to ask her about in the later appointment. But you can get a sense. So many things are missing, misquoted carpentry. I'm not having too good a feel of this. When all the quotes are in and you filled up the table, congratulations, you now have a clear picture on what each ID has to offer, what they have quoted and what they have not quoted. Remember, interior designers are also human. Sometimes they do forget, they're not out to scam you, but they do forget and miss items. That's why you need different quotes to kind of highlight the areas which need more attention too. When all the quotes are in and you have broken down everything, it should look something like this. Yes, I added a bit of color so that I can have a bit of indication which is more expensive, but you get the idea. The greens are the missing items and the whites are basically the items that are quoted for. If it's free, it was written down. If it's included in a package, it's also written down. Look up here, alright? The quote is a contract. So if it's not written, it won't be provided. That's how it is. And that's why information is key. So you take this, you go back to them and make sure they fill in every missing item. If it's free, it should be included. And when all the cells are filled, that's when the numbers up above are more reliable and you can make your selection based on that. But there's still one more thing you need to do, and that's in the next section. When you send out your quotation for the first time, be bold. Ask for everything. Bash down a wall, false ceilings, carpentry, marble, relay laminate flooring, everything. You want it quoted first so that you can compare and contrast. After that, you reach this part which is called trimming the fat. Now you go through your quote and have a look at items that you don't really need. You put it there initially because you wanted initial quote and start removing it. So these are the 4 IDs that I've shortlisted out of the 20 that I've interacted with. I sent my briefing out to. So this is the final stage of selection. 1, 2, 3, 4. But watch what happens when I start trimming the quote. I start off here, these red lines, I don't really want this, I also don't really want that, and that, I also don't really want that. Now watch, the numbers are slowly changing, and the ID that was number 2 is now number 1, and they are almost $4,000 cheaper than the next ID, although they were about $1,000 more expensive initially. It's kind of obvious which ID you want to go with at this point. And after all that, we've decided to go with Samantha from Interior Times to help us in our renovation journey. She's been really great, but to everyone else like Jonas from Easy ID, Chelsea from the local Interior, and Issac from 7 Cents, thank you so much for all your hard work in providing us with quotes. However, there can only be one. But yeah, if you guys are looking for an ID, do choose any one of them. I left their details in the comments down below. And yeah, like, share and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.